And welcome back to Outside the Book. Joining us now is Jacinda Townsend. Jacinda is a native of here in South Central Kentucky. She's a graduate of Harvard, Duke University Law School, and University of Iowa. She's had a Fulbright. Her fiction is very widely published. She's a faculty member at Indiana University in Bloomington, and her new book is Saint Monkey, published by Norton's, and just recently reviewed very favorably in the New York Times Book Review. So Jacinda, welcome home, and thanks for being with us on Outside the Book.
Thanks for having me.
I'm intrigued that you're from Kentucky and the setting of Saint Monkey is in Kentucky. Why did you choose to set this novel in Kentucky?
Well, it's a love letter to a way of life that I think has kind of disappeared, especially in eastern Kentucky. And it's set in the 50s, so there's a lot of the diction that has not survived until now, and a lot of kind of the ways of life and mores that also have not survived. So I wanted to kind of preserve that time and place.
Why eastern Kentucky as opposed to South Central Kentucky?
I think that has to do with kind of artistic process. I think had I said it here, it would have been too tempting to make it autobiographical, in some small ways. So this way, eastern Kentucky is a place that I didn't know that well. So it's really straight from my imagination. So.
Well, one of many things that intrigues me about this novel is that it's a kind of an alternating conversation, or kind of it's told from the point of view of two women.
Yes.
How did you come up with that structure? And it's a very interesting and creative approach.
Sure. One of the girls one of the protagonists is very dreamy. She's very much about kind of the space between what's real and what she sees could be. The other one is very much her foil. She's really caustic and angry at the world, very pragmatic. She's just trying to get from point A to point B. And I think they were just really two sides of the same coin. So,
tell us a little bit about the creative origins of these two characters.
Sure.
Is this a kind of inner dialogue within yourself, or are these conversations that you've kind of put together over years, or where does this conversation come from?
I think both things are true. So to some extent, the more caustic character was a part of me that I'm afraid to show the world. So she kind of came out, but also I wanted to explore the role of women in the 50s. So I wanted two women who were so different and yet kind of ended up constrained. One leaves Kentucky, she goes to New York, she's a brilliant pianist, but she still ends up very much constrained by the menfolk of the jazz era. So I wanted to explore those two different people.
What comes... Is this possibly the first of more novels about these characters, or what do you do
that's
next
a good
here?
question. What I'm working on now is two different voices, but it's a really different world. It's modern day, but it's set partially in Indiana and partially in Morocco.
Oh, wow.
So it's about a woman who has escaped slavery in Mauritania and is stuck in Morocco, and then an American woman who adopts her child, but she's really kidnapped the child. So it's about what happens after that.
So Kentucky and Harlem, Indiana and Morocco, geography is important to your creative process.
Yes, a sense of place is really important to me. I spend a lot of time researching setting. I spend a lot of time researching this particular setting, like the 50s, and even down to what kind of seats were in the Apollo. I spent so much time on this setting, so it's really important to me. And what's pleasing is when I hear from somebody who was that age and lived through it and says, "Oh my gosh, how did you know that?" So it's paid off.
I have to ask you something about your career odyssey. You have an undergraduate degree from Harvard, and you have a degree from Duke University Law School.
Yes.
And you decide, all things considered, I'd rather be a creative writer.
Yes.
Tell me a little bit about that change.
Okay, I think I had always wanted to write. I had always been interested in the arts. It was my first love. And I think like a lot of kids, I was continually dissuaded from thinking that could be a real life, right? And so I went and I got a law degree, and then the older I got, the more I thought, I love that. I love that life, and I want to do it. And so eventually the courage to do it kind of outweighed all the dissuasion in my head, you know, and things have been magical ever since I made that decision. So.
Well, anybody who's read your work is going to be really glad you made that decision.
Well, thank you.
Jacinda Townsend, thank you very much for being
Thanks
with us
for
on
having
Outside
me.
the Book. Our pleasure.
Nice talking to you.